Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you're tuning in. We are Slava and Jonathan, bringing you the Side Quest podcast, where we talk about character development, stories, and all things that are world building. And we occasionally take side quests, because, frankly, that's how conversations work. Just as a reminder, this whole show is spoiler heavy. So sit back, tune in, and join us on this episode of Side Quest.
Lower.
You want me to get low?
Yes. With the boots to the floor. Or the fur on the floor? The boots with the fur? Yes, the boots.
It's the boots with the fur.
Yep,
because it's 2023, and when you make a hit song, it sticks with you. Just like whatever's on that floor.
Oof.
Sticky.
Yep.
You ever been into a nightclub that hasn't been cleaned?
No. Maybe.
I have. It's gross. It's gross.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, it's that time again. Your weekly side quest is here. Slava, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're back in Camorra. And we are in a dilapidated building with Locke waking up from I don't know what you would call it. He fainted from sheer exhaustion. I guess that's what you would call it. That's where we are. That's where we're starting off this week.
Locke, Jean, the city of Camorra, the thorn of Camorra, the Grey King, and a bonds mage. Not to mention the spider.
Yeah. Both of which get taken care of by Locke very aptly, if I may say so.
I don't think that the spider gets taken care of.
Well,
The bonds mage and the Grey King, sure. But the spider doesn't get taken care of. Whatever.
if you're going to play semantics.
It's not semantics. It's not semantics. We'll get into this.
She gets punched in the face, and Locke escapes. Taken care of.
The other two get taken care of by death.
One of them gets taken care of by death. Bondsmaid's still alive, limping around, mumbling incoherently.
That's fair. Okay, so you're getting the spectrum. All right, well, we're diving into the book. First, the question of the week. What's the greatest question you've thought of in the last year? You're welcome.
The greatest question I thought of. Hey, Jonathan, why don't we start a podcast?
Oh, that's good. But I guess, yeah, that's true. We haven't, but nah, that question doesn't fit because we started this well before we started putting out episodes. So that question doesn't fit.
Hey, Jonathan, how do you think the podcast is going?
Okay. You're not even trying.
I have no idea.
I feel like you would.
This seems like a pretentious question. Like the greatest.
I think that your greatest question that you've thought of recently was that pasta dish that you were like trying to reinvent or whatever.
Which pasta dish? Which one?
You said you were going to like redo a pasta dish. It's like episode 32 or 33 or something like that.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I've done a few where I've taken pasta dishes that are kind of common, if you will, or they're, at least known in America as either, oh, this is an Italian thing, oh, this is a French thing. And yes, they are American Italian, or some of them are actually Italian, and we make them here too. So I do my own twist on them sometimes.
Well, you said you were like going to reinvent it or something like that.
Oh, I forget at this point.
I consider it a question, like if you're going to reinvent something, it might not be like, am I going to reinvent this thing? It's more like you're in the action of reinventing a thing.
Okay.
In my mind. So anyway, this is a great question, I guess.
My wife is buying me, she spoiled the fun, which I don't care because I could care less about surprises.
You don't mind surprises.
She told me for Christmas she's getting me a pasta maker. So I will be reinventing things, trying new dishes because of that. My wife has a gluten allergy, so I have to buy gluten-free pasta, and most of it in the stores is cardboard. It's just garbage. Tastes like absolute ass.
You ever get the lentil pasta or the, the ones that they make out of cauliflower pasta and things like that?
Yeah. Some of them are all right. Some of them are all right, but they're not good for the dishes I make. If you're going to take a cauliflower pasta, bell peppers, and eat that like a vegetarian thing, that's fine. But if you're making a chicken piccata, lentil pasta doesn't go at all. Very few pastas out there that are gluten-free are actually edible, in my opinion. So it's hard for me and my wife, to find something. So I'm going to try my hand at making gluten-free pasta that doesn't taste like butthole.
Mm-hmm. Like gator tail?
Or gator tail, yeah. Which actually tastes pretty good if you make it right. But you wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. And I will never find out either.
Because you and the gators don't get along.
It's not kosher.
It is not. Neither are mussels, neck clams, calamari, all the delicious stuff.
Steak's delicious, and that's kosher.
See, 2 for 2 for steak.
Oh, my gosh. The last great question that I thought of was this morning when I thought, why is Slava such a boomer?
Because I watch TikTok in the browser. Because I don't have it downloaded, and that's the only way I can do it when my Zoomer friends send me TikToks.
Well, I'm not your Zoomer friend.
I suppose that's fair. That makes me a boomer. I suppose I could just download the app. Because I have an account.
I know.
And when I updated my phone, I just never downloaded the...
Whenever you get on again, you'll just see thousands of posts from me. But anyway, I think this was a great question of the week. It clearly kept everyone entertained.
Clearly. And we haven't asked a question in a week in like 4 episodes. It's going to have been a free-for-all. Locke would approve. And I know that that's a dangerous thing to say. But Locke would approve of our episodes being a free-for-all.
Spencer on Black Flame at the end, if you guys listened to the dating section, and I was like, it's like they've never asked a goddamn question before. They've never had a conversation with a human. What is that about? You have. I know you have, because you're still here. You've made it this far.
If you make it through an hour of Black Flame, you will hear me say...
Plus dating culture.
Yeah. You might hear me say, unless I edited this portion out because we had to cut it down because it was an acid trip of an episode, I don't like this kind of nonsense. I think I see the value of it because people find it kitschy and they find it kind of cute. And, oh, look, it's, you have to think quick on your feet. So I'll participate in it, but coming up with these questions, I rather shit in my hand and clap.
Well, when we start doing video, you can do that as the opener.
Yes. And then, well, we'll have to do it on a different platform.
You heard it here. Episode 58, Slava has agreed to do the disgusting on the video. Thankfully, we're not in the same house, so I'm not going to have to clean it up. This is how you have conversations, though. This is, you ask people questions. You make friends at work. Okay. You make friends in the store. Like, you ask questions.
I have never come up to anybody in the store and said, hey, what is the greatest question you ever thought of this year? Or, what'd you learn this week? What was your emotional high? I've never asked the cashier what was her emotional high that week.
Yeah, you just go, how you doing?
Yeah, hey, how are you? What's new? I don't know. Like, if I know her because I'm a regular, I might talk about stuff that we've established.
Exactly, but how do you establish that stuff?
Not by asking them what their greatest question is of the week.
Oh my God.
I mean, I know questions.
Then you need to start asking me questions if it's like pulling teeth from my little baby boomer over there, then, you can ask the questions.
That's the whole point. I hate these questions.
But people want to get to know us.
Don't let the kids see us fight. Let's not do this.
Are your dogs by?
I'm talking about our audience.
Oh, well, they want to see mom and dad fight. Dad over here is complaining to mom that she doesn't know how to ask a friggin' question.
In no world am I the mom in this situation.
What's wrong with being a mom, Slava?
Absolutely nothing. I think you're a beautiful mom.
I'm not the mom.
All right, so this is a whole different kind of marriage then.
This is ancient Greece.
Again, if this is ancient Greece, I'm still the older, wiser Grecian.
For those who don't know, ancient Greece had tendencies of having younger men and older men become
lovers
in relationship to pass on their knowledge among other activities. I'll just leave it there. You can look it up. It's real. All right, you salty adventurers. Now that you know a bunch of nonsense and you saw us fight, make sure that you never miss a podcast by smashing that subscribe button, or you'll miss out on all of this type of treasure on SideQuest.
Spoiler alert, we make up next week.
Nope.
Typical woman.
Oh my God. Give us the plot of Act 4. Just do it.
All right. Plot point for Act 4. Locke wakes up in an abandoned villa. Jean is with him, so is a unregistered doctor named Abelius, who's working on getting Locke feeling better. There's a ship that just came into port called the Satisfaction. Supposedly it's a plague ship, but we find out it's not, and it's Raza's way of stealing money. He's giving them provisions, so-called, but nope, he's robbing everybody blind. Locke visits the Silvaras after a bit of a misadventure trying to get fancy clothes to look the part of Fairwhite again. He gets tracked by the spider. He gets stabbed in the neck by the spider with some kind of poison. And she addresses him as the Thorn. He's supposed to tell her all his secrets in exchange for the antidote. Instead, he does what he's supposed to do. He punches the spider right in the face, takes the antidote, climbs out of a window, and scaling a wall, jumps on an elevator and escapes. As this is going on, Jean returns to the docks where he discovered that something shady is going on with the Satisfaction and discovers 3 dead bodies. He's interrupted in his little escapades there by the Barragia sisters, who now he knows are Caparraza's younger sisters, and he knows this because he has cut off appendages and tongues off a bondsmage who told them this before the tongue was taken out. So he kills the Barragia sisters. The Kappa and his bondsmage make the spider invite them to a party where he's going to set up some poison traps and poison bombs. Locke saves everybody at this party. Locke kills the Great King after he finds him, and the scene ends with Locke saying something very interesting. Tell him what he says.
Locke says, Locke's side. So this is winning, he said. It is, replied Jean. Well, it can go itself, said Locke.
Yep. So that's a quick overview of the high notes of what happened in this very high-paced Act 4 of The Lies of Locke Lamora. I love it. Each scene that I described, I picked them because they're the ones that stood out to me.
Right. There's a lot of other stuff that happens.
Sure, of course. But Locke punching the old woman in the face, grabbing the antidote and scaling the side of a building to get away, that's good action.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about when Locke has gotten up from his little shack that he's hiding in, and he understands that he has to go to the party because of what they found out from the bondsmage, and he goes to Miraggio's to try to convince someone to give him their clothing, and it doesn't work with the first person, and it doesn't work with the second person. I just see Scott Lynch writing that, and he goes, this isn't good enough. And he, just ups the ante again. And he writes it, and he's like, that's not good enough either. What if he convinced Miraggio to give him his clothes? There we go. And he just, keeps going until he finds something that's interesting.
Yep. I can agree with you. And I'm going to bore some of the audience by saying, I heard Stephen King in a lecture say this, but I did. And I think it captures what you just said perfectly. A good writer will sometimes let the story take itself, right? Well, that's not the right way to say it. The story takes you... You know what I'm trying to say. It's too early in the morning to think. But sometimes the story goes where it wants to go. That's what I want to say. How is Locke going to get clothes? Well, he's going to trick somebody. Okay, so he's going to find some stupid low-level employee and trick him, obviously. Great, let's go. And then, but what if this low-level employee is not as stupid as Locke thinks and tells him to go pound salt? I agree with you. I can see Lynch going, all right, second time, yeah, let's have him fail the second time too. Because that's going to up the ante, not only because of the immediate context, and it's going to be freaking funny, but he has to get to this party on time, right?
Yeah. I want to pause for a second and just draw the audience's attention to when Slava is looking at getting into someone else's head. He somehow finds the ability to ask questions, good questions, even so. And just wanted to put that out there. Just wanted to draw everyone's attention to it, that Slava actually does have the capability of asking questions. So just wanted to draw our attention to that. Okay, back to the plot.
Point of order, sir. Sir, point of order. Yeah. I'd like to say, of course Slava asks good questions. He just hates icebreaker questions. That is all. Please continue, sir. I relinquish my time.
You say that, but we literally had 3 years of a pandemic where people were starved for their acquaintance relationships, which we as humans actually need. And so everyone who's like, I hate small talk, like actually you not physically, you socially need that.
Sure.
So,
I like small talk. I'm fine with small talk. I make small talk with people standing in the lunch line at work because we have a big old cafeteria. It's just, and I know
school. Would you working with children? I don't know why they trust you with that.
It's not children. Everybody's an adult, but
they act like children. Got it.
But they act like children, and we have a cafeteria. And by cafeteria, I mean you go back to your office or like you know what? It doesn't matter. The audience doesn't care. We have a cafeteria. Let's move on. Who the hell cares?
I'd like the big cookie and the not real pizza, please.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think
you don't have anything to say. That's what you think.
That's correct. That's correct.
And if you do have something to think, you're going to come up with a question, and you're going to prove my point. So I would just bow out of this one. Just tip your queen or your king, whatever. It's like chess. I haven't played chess in a while, apparently. Just tip your king and call it good. Let's get back to the story.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It feels good to win, folks.
It does.
Maybe not for Locke and Jean, but in this instance, winning's tasty.
Yeah. So Locke gets it finally, and I like the fact he seems not at all bothered by the fact that he ruins this guy's life. For those who don't know, on the third attempt, Locke finds a waiter. Apparently, the Miraggio has a cafeteria, too. He finds a waiter and says, hey, I need your clothes because there's an assassination attempt. He just repeats the damn line with anybody. Like, it's like the third time. There's an assassination attempt. I need your clothes. Let me change into a waiter so I can go foil it. So, and he does that and gets in front of Miraggio because Miraggio likes, a certain order of things. He likes to be served, and he's very, what I got from reading it, this is not said by Lynch, but what I got from reading this part of the story was he's very regimented. So this waiter, Locke, comes to Miraggio and says, hey, there's an assassination plot against you. I was able to trick 3 of your freaking people, 2 guards and a waiter, and they're all probably in on it. I need your clothes so I can go and pretend to be you, and when they try to kill you, which will be me, we'll know who it is. And Miraggio's like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, it takes him a little bit to get convinced, but he's like, okay.
Bit. Yeah.
But all right, that makes sense. And so they change clothes, and Locke then tells this guy, like, hey, sorry, not sorry. I kind of screwed up your life. Here's a couple of crowns. I suggest you go to a different town and just change your name and never come back. Like, peace, deuces. And the guy's like, what? What the hell's going on? And he has to play along as Locke is dragging him out, and he's screaming, oh, don't kill me. Oh, I'm so sorry. But if you think about it, what the did this waiter do to anybody? Like, Locke just totally screws this guy's life up. And it's like, bye. Well, here's $100, right? Whatever. A couple crowns is probably, maybe $5,000. It doesn't matter. Here's some money. Take a bus to the next town over and never, ever come back. How is this guy going to find work? Like, what?
He's got no references now.
Yeah. So, anyway, good on Locke. He's got his clothes. Plan can continue.
Yes. And he finds his way over to Raven's... What is it? Raven's...
Peach?
Raven's Reach?
Yes. I said peach. I didn't mean that. Raven's Reach. Yes. Raven's Peach.
Wow.
Who's Raven?
You made this super weird. This is on you. Okay. So Locke goes over to Raven's Reach and, thinks he's going to schmooze with the Salvaras and whatever, and they pull the old switcheroo on him. Gets stabbed. And then this is another one that it's like, okay, Lynch doesn't pull any punches. Literally.
No, he doesn't. And I text you about this. I am glad that he wrote Locke consistent. Because it would be Locke who would punch an old woman in the face to get an antidote. And quite honestly, in the real world, anybody worth his salt would also punch a young woman, an old woman, a young man, a hippopotamus, whatever is in front of you. You would punch
I would
it.
not punch a hippopotamus.
You know what I mean. You would.
They're
you would.
scary.
What if the hippopotamus had an antidote?
Where would it be hiding an antidote?
It doesn't matter. I'm just. He punches the old spider right in the face, takes the antidote, and climbs out of the window. And when he meets up with her again, she does punch him back, but she doesn't seem like she's
I don't think she's got
too
strong
upset.
arms.
No, she doesn't. That's why her nephew, who's in charge of the guard, punches him for her too, to make up for her lack of strength. But when she punches him, she's like, yeah, I'm paraphrasing in the audience for those who have read it. She punches him in the face and goes, now we're even, kind of. So I like that part of the world where Lynch didn't pull in any
punches.
Didn't pull any punches, but what am I saying? Didn't pull in any maybe over our sensibilities into the world. Where yes, Locke is a thief. Yes, he's a gentleman. Yes, he's a gentleman bastard. But he's like, I got to survive, and if I need to punch this old woman in the face, I'm going to punch this old woman in the face.
Right.
Now, you can disagree with that. You can disagree with that and get your britches in a bunch, but for the story, I think it's very cool because you get just this other side of Locke where he is willing to do anything. Yes, he's crazy. Yes, he's very intelligent when it comes to cons, and he'll do anything. And he sometimes walks into a situation not knowing what he's going to do. Well, here's a perfect example. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm poisoned. What do I do? Well, I'm gonna take the antidote by any means possible." Or by any means necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
So Locke goes back to Jean and then finds out that Jean's been taken control of.
Mm-hmm.
And he was taken control of by the Bonds Mage by writing down his true name.
Yeah.
Now, this mildly lines up with a similar magic system. Lines up's not the right word. This is mildly in line with the Rothfuss Name of the Wind magic system, where things have true names.
Yes.
And both this book and Name of the Wind's books have a magic system that stems actually from Ursula K. Le Guin, who wrote the Earthsea series, which I would like us to read at some point, but it is very slow. You can feel the pacing because it's slow. But her whole system is about having true names for things. And when you have the true name of something, you have power over it, which is an interesting magic system. So.
Yeah, so Jean is under control of the Falconer, and the Falconer tells him to kill Locke. John tries his best not to, and in the struggle, as the Falconer is looking at this, he goes, you know what? It'll be better if Locke kills Jean.
And I think, honestly, this is where the Falconer got things wrong.
Yep.
He just was playing with his food. And according to game theory, you never show any mercy to your enemies. You simply crush them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I made the comments I made about the spider getting punched. All bets are off when my left's on the line. So here's where it's a great twist. We don't know Locke's real name, and neither does the Bonds Mage, because Locke pretends he's under the control of the Bonds Mage and puts an axe in his groin, which, again, of all the places, Scott Lynch, this is just one of those little blimps on the screen of Lies of Locke Lamora, where not only is it well written, but it's dark and comical at the same time.
It is.
So Bonds Mage falls down, and Locke realizes that the Bonds Mage and his falcon are connected.
Soul-bound of sorts. It doesn't say that, but, I mean, that's what we see after we...
Yep. So he kills the falcon, and this causes the Bonds Mage to cry with pure madness as he falls sobbing into unconsciousness. And when he wakes up, what a way to wake up. He gets his fingers cut off. I think like 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets his tongue cut out after he spills the beans. Locke doesn't kill him because he doesn't want the Bonds Mage community to come after him because they're all, connected spirits or something, and they kill off anybody who messes with them.
But the interesting thing here is okay, Chain says, anyone who kills a Bonds Mage, they razz their city, salt their fields, and curse their family line for 6 generations. You don't think they're going to do that when you've, put this man into a stumpy, dismembered, figure? Oh, yeah, no, he's alive, so it's fine. No. They're going to razz your city, salt your fields, and kill your 6 generations. Because it's a principle thing.
Is that a spoiler?
No, but they should.
Yeah, well, they should, but Locke has to have some.
But in the moment, Locke doesn't know that, so.
No, Locke doesn't know that, and I thought of that too, quite honestly. But it was still satisfying having this guy.
Right, revenge is the top of the mind for this point in the book.
Yeah. So during the questioning, before they cut off this Bonds douche's tongue,
Bonds
they
nozzle?
find, Bond nozzle.
There you
It's
go.
a good one. I'm going to use a Bond nozzle. Before they cut off his tongue, he gives up all the goodies, and apparently Caporazza is not Caporazza, but Luciano Anatolius, and his grudge against Barsavi and the rest of the Camorra nobility, although Barsavi's not nobility, but against Barsavi and the nobility and the secret peace and everything else, stems from his father being killed, and his mother, and his 3 younger children.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 3 younger children, so his sisters or brothers.
and brothers, yeah.
Yeah.
Siblings.
Barsavi killed them, and that murder set in motion the relationship that's now called the Secret Peace. So now he wants to kill everybody. And before this, real quickly, he visits the spider. Bonds Mage controls her mind, gets the Bonds Mage and Caporazza, or Luciano Anatolius, an invite to the Duke's Ball party, whatever. And he brings 3 gifts, and those gifts are statues filled with a poison that, when put into aerosol form, makes everybody, pretty much kills your brain. You start drooling and walking around like a zombie. So some sort of zombie poison. Anyway, this is what they find out, and Locke decides that he needs to save these people, which was kind of noble, and I didn't see it coming, but I kind of saw it coming. It's one of those things where it's a character arc. He's growing, and even at great risk to himself, he knows that he has to save the people from Caporazza's wrath. So he goes back to the party and gets in front of the spider again after being beaten up and not believed, and he explains to them, here's what's going on. And the interesting twist, I kind of found this very convenient, but I'll forgive Lynch because the rest of the book was fantastic. The Donna Salvara is, I forget the name for her, but she understands poisons and herbs and
alchemical. She's into the alchemical arts.
Yes, yes, exactly. And when she inspects the statues, one of them, it is revealed that there's poison there.
The thing is, this isn't some sort of quaint thing. We know that she's into the alchemical arts based on Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Act 3, she discovers that her plant that she made with alchemical whatever, tastes like alcohol. Before that, she, dawdles about with alchemical things in her alchemical garden or whatever. So, this isn't as quaint. I wasn't sure where you were going with this, but this isn't as quaint as you started off saying, in my opinion.
I don't think this is a Deus Ex Machina thing. We're oh my gosh, we never knew this. Oh, thank God that Salvara knows alchemy. I'm not saying that, but the setup for it, and then her being there, and then oh, okay, well, yes, this is how fortunate and convenient that this happened. But that's just me nitpicking, and I freely admit it, and it is what it is. But they figure out that indeed the statues are booby traps. They do have this poison, and they get rid of the statues. Everybody's saved, and Locke gets kind of a free pass, get out of jail free card, but he has to leave the town. And I like the fact that that old woman, for which he should have been punched again, says, "Oh, you don't." Yeah, you don't get to go anywhere. You're still going to be a prisoner because blah, 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 blah. And Locke's like, F off. I just saved all your lives. I get to go. Eat shit.
Yeah.
And good on him. And so she relents and makes...
Because they want the money.
They want the money, right, of course. The great part about this scene, the second part that's great about this scene is the death offering that
I love
Locke,
that.
Locke says,
so
hey,
much.
you know where your money is? It's in the shit bags over here. Literally, shit bags.
There's different harbor. Let me just say this. So there's different ships because it's a harbor. One of the ways that they get rid of their refuse is like trash barges, but it's literally like the refuse from we'll just say the nobility. Like it's where they put all their chamber pot, whatever's to pull it out of the city so the city can keep functioning. But the plague ship, he says, is like, oh, he's going to escape on this one. You got to destroy it before he gets there. And then, because he's about to get there, then he doesn't have a way out. Then you can go look for the money. So they do, but Jean and Locke both knew that the money was on there. And Locke is, and you called this I'll give you credit for, you called that he's going to get more of his friends killed, which means that he's also got to make another death offering. And this one was big. This one was 3 people's worth, 40,000 crowns, like big death offering.
Yeah, and Nazca, if you're going to count her, she was a friend. And she wasn't a gentleman bastard, but she's still part of it.
I don't know if you count her because we only see him paying. Well, okay, yeah, I think you can count her. Because when he gets picked up by chains at the beginning of the book, he has to do death offerings for all the kids, even though they weren't part of his gentleman bastards. So,
yeah.
But they were part of the underworld.
Yeah, and I think he says as much too. He names her in the list of people that he's seeking revenge for.
Mm-hmm.
Because they became buds afterwards. They weren't like lovers or
they were friends beforehand too, or
Yeah.
they wouldn't have been so polite.
Yes. So he does that and moves on to get revenge from the Grey King. One of the parts of the deal that Locke gets to go free is he also gets to chase the Grey King. And if he gets to him first, so be it. If the nobility gets to him first, also so be it. But he does, and after a pretty intense fight, he ends up getting the best of the Grey King, and he does it the same way he got the best of the quarter douches, whatever their name was, that were harassing them.
Bonds and nozzles.
Oh, Bonds and nozzles, yeah, the quarter nozzles. And he says the same thing at this point. He goes, I have to hold you here long enough for Jean to arrive. I don't have to beat you. And he tricks the Grey King into thinking Jean's around the corner. And at that point, he stabs him and then stabs him again and again until he kills him. And Jean does arrive, but arrives late. So he doesn't get to save Locke. Locke has to win himself, beat the enemy himself. And he does. So that's where that quote comes in. After he kills the Grey King, he has his revenge. And he wins, but I don't think he really feels like he won because friends are still dead, money's still gone, and he's bleeding out.
Yeah, everything that they built has been spent or
lost.
Yeah.
Yep. So great book, great ending, loved it.
I knew you would. I knew it. I'm not much for I told you so's, but I told you so.
You can have all of the I told you so's for this one because you deserve it. This was a good find and a good suggestion.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, what a journey. And we've said this a couple times now, but Lynch really does an excellent job at upping the ante each time.
Yep.
And it makes the book engaging. Like, you think that you're, oh man, okay, now he's just got to solve the one problem from Act 2. And then Act 3 happens, and you're like, oh, okay, so he's got to solve the problem with Act 2, but now he doesn't have his crew. Okay, and then Act 4, and he's like, oh, okay, well, how is he going to solve the problem from Act 2 in Act 4? And now he's, like, wounded and whatever. And he and Jean just commit to, like, we're going to win this one, whatever it takes. It's so good.
It is good. And the antis, you're right, they are written well. They seem, this is such an overused word, but they seem organic. And by that I mean it doesn't seem forced. It doesn't seem gratuitous, right? Like the violence or the building of tension doesn't seem like, okay, well, what else could happen? Even if you're saying that out of surprise or out of a love for the story, not because like, oh my gosh, anything else? Like how can you make this character suffer? Because some stories, after a while, you're like, all right, you're just a masochist. You're not our author. You're a masochist, and you want to destroy. You want to put on paper the destruction of a human being, and fine, like it's a fictional story. Authors can do what they want, and people can like it or dislike it. Welcome to pluralistic society. But for me, like I like that the antis seemed natural in the world and for the characters. This is an in-world critique where in-world, the shit that happened to Locke, the good, the bad, and the ugly seemed natural, right? That they were supposed to happen, or it didn't seem out of place that they happened.
Exactly. So I've got some questions here for you because I think that this will be fun.
Let's do it.
Do you think that with so one of the things that happens, guys, is Danya Forcenza, the spider, appoints the Salvaros as the new spider. Okay? So instead of there being like one spider, now there's two spiders, but no one's going to know that because it's secret. Do you think they'll try and come after Jean and Locke because of the... Okay, well, you don't let me finish the question. Because of all the things they did.
Yes. Especially after Donna Vincenza goes to sleep with her fathers or mothers. Yes, they are. I think. I mean, I only got to chapter 1 in the second book because I got distracted by things. But yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about what's going to happen to the Bonds Mage? You brought him up a little bit ago and said his douche buddies are going to try to exact revenge. And you kind of know this, so...
This is not a good question for me because I've read all 3 books.
Well, Locke lives at the end of the third one, so I'm assuming whatever happens, happens.
Does he, though?
He doesn't? You're telling me Locke is dead by book 3.
I don't know.
I don't believe you.
Well, this is fun. This is a good time. So what do you think is going to happen to the Bonds Mage? Because the guys find him, and then you remember the scene. There's like 2 guards, like 2 nobodies, find this body, and it's got a note on it. It's like, ship it back to Carthane. Was it Carthane?
Whatever.
Carthane.
But yes,
yeah,
another great scene.
Yeah.
It's so freaking Locke.
You're like, oh boy, this is not going to go well.
Yeah. I think, you want me to just to guess? I'm just going to guess.
Always.
I think this is what's going to happen. The Bonds Mage is going to get shipped to the douche castle. The rest of the douche nozzles are maging around. Bonds nozzles are maging around. And they're going to try to come after Jean and Locke. But I think that Jean and Locke, or maybe just Locke, will best them. How that's going to happen, I don't know. If I'm going to purely guess, just pull something out of my butt right now, is they're going to convince the other Bonds Mages that this Bonds Mage acted against the better wishes of the Bonds Mages as a whole. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the Bonds Mages are going to be like, hey, douchebag, you did what to who? When? What were you doing in Camorra? And that's how Jean and Locke get away, maybe a little scathed, but get away from any retribution that the Bonds Mages might have in store for them. Pure speculation. Didn't read ahead. If I guessed it, yay for me. If I'm totally off, I'll find out.
Here's your little wet whistle for this. We will, at some point, meet the Falconer's mother, who's also a bonds mage. And we also run into Sabbatha at some point.
Oh, well, great.
All the drama.
All the drama. Do they kill Sabbatha to get back at... They kill Sabbatha, don't they? Locke finally meets her, and the bonds mage like sets her on fire or something, or makes her bowels fall out. Awesome.
Where do you think Locke and Jean will go next?
They will go to the city just northwest. They're going to go to a tower and play in a casino. And I don't know. I didn't read that far.
Tavarar.
There it is. Yes.
Tavarar. How do I say it? Not going to ask you because you're not going to pronounce things correctly.
Or are you asking where Jean and Locke went? That's the pronunciation of that city?
I wish that we were in the same room so I could punch you the way that Locke punches his spider. The Sin Spire.
Ooh, sounds like Sin City. Oh, it
where
kind of
every, yeah, Talvarar is where they go, and it has this thing called the Sin Spire, where every level of the spire, the higher up you go, is different events of chance. And what I mean by that is, like, you have normal gambling on, like, the lower floors, and then the higher floors you have, like, will this guy survive being in a ring with an alligator for more than 4 minutes? And people make wagers on it. And then the higher up you go, it's like, can this guy eat 3 poison apples before he passes out or whatever? Like, things like that you put wagers on. But you don't get to go higher until you get invited because it's very exclusive. It's a really great read. Book 2 is basically Ocean's 11 meets Pirates of the Caribbean.
Nice. I can dig it.
So it's definitely worth a read. Talvarar.
Why don't you wet my whistle a little bit more? I want my whistle wetted. Are there any threads in this book, like the book that we just read, that I'll find in book 2 and 3? Like repeating themes. For example, I don't have to beat you. I just have to wait for Jean type of deal, or the 2 book ends where Locke kills his best friends by his hubris in the beginning and the end of the book. Anything like that repeats?
The Jean thing doesn't, from what I can remember. I don't remember that happening, but after reading book 1 here again, I kind of wish it did at some point. Like, let us forget about it and then bring it back. You know what I mean? Like, I would love if it was in book 4, because that'd be fun.
Well, when book 4 comes out, we'll find out if it comes out.
Yeah, the Thorn of Emberlane. And then for your other question, I don't think so. Again, it's been about a year and a half since I've read these books. I think that was my second time or third time. So it's been a minute, but I don't call them getting another crew.
So it's just him and John?
Yeah, at some point they start trying to rebuild the crew.
Is that where Sabbatha comes in?
No. That's a whole different plot thread, and it's beautiful and wonderful.
And how does she die? Remind me how she dies.
You're not gonna. Okay, whatever. Do you think that they can go back to Camor?
I think they probably do. There'll probably be a thing that happens where, like, oh yeah, I forgot that we have 1,000 crowns in a bag behind a dumpster, on the south side of something.
No, I don't think. I don't remember them going back in any of the other books.
Oh, okay, so they don't.
I don't remember them doing that. No, I think their adventures take them far elsewhere.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go back at a later book. However, it won't be book 4 because book 4 is called The Thorn of Emberlane, which is a different city. So you can make broad assumptions that they're not going to Camor when they're in Emberlane because they use the Emberlane shtick in Camor, so they might use the Camor shtick in Emberlane.
Yeah,
I'm Lucas Fairwhite from Emberlane.
Unless Locke is dead and then John becomes the Thorn of Emberlane.
John's the son of a merchant. He can't do that. And Chains tells us this.
Oh, so Locke's alive.
They can't do each other's jobs, right? Like they have.
No, that's right. I'm just playing backup. I'm just messing with you.
Anyway, if you were going to be a Daniel Vorcenza, Why would you and slap Miraggio? I don't have a good question here. I've used all my questions.
I have a good question. Donna Vercenza does appoint the Salvaras. Why do you think she chose him? I mean, she says to some degree why she chose him in the book. But why do you think there's anything behind the reason? Things in between the lines?
I don't think that we get enough time with Danya Vorcenza and the Salvaras because she really comes into play like end of Act 3. And it's because Danya Salvara comes to her and she goes, I know that every time people talk to you, that somehow the spider of Camor gets the information. So I need help. Here's what's going on. I think that she explains it pretty well in her explanation where she's like, people assume that the spider is one. I think it'll be better if there's two. And this is not a gift. This is a punishment. I don't know why you're punishing people who just got stolen from, but all right. Sounds good.
Yeah. So, well, if I may make wild assumptions, which I am known to do and
Prone to do
by you.
Yes.
Prone and prompted to do.
New side quest or new podcast. What? Just I need whiskey.
Prone and prompted? Yes, that'd be a great. We could change the name to this. Prone and prompted. Prompted. God, son of a gun. Okay, so I think not only the reasons that were outlined in the book, but also what you just said, kind of, which is just a repeat of the book. But the Salvaras know who she is. They know the game. I think they've proven themselves apt players of the game because of the setup of Locke, how he was set up. So Vercenzo's probably, they can do this. And also, why not?
She's old and waiting to die, right? Like
that too. Well, that's what she says in the book. I think that's it. That was just a little thing that popped into my head as you mentioned whatever you mentioned that started this part of the conversation.
Do you think anybody in the book besides Jean and Locke are going to be seen in the further books besides Tabitha, who I mentioned?
Salvaris probably.
All right.
Yep. Maybe the what's her face? I forget his name, but he's in charge of the Spider's men, the Duke's men.
Oh yeah, whatever his name is. Right.
Yep. Probably see
could
him.
be
Stephen or Philip. I forget his name.
I think we should call him Stephen. That jackwagon of a guy.
Yep. Yep.
Oh man. All right. Well, that is The Lies of Locke Lamora, Book 1. We are looking forward to Book 2 because Slava couldn't put it down. Literally, he finishes the same day and he goes, I started Book 2, and I was like, hold the phone. You can't just start book. We didn't even finish recording Book 1, and anyway. So Slava's in on Book 2. It's not like maybe we'll read it. No, he's already committed to it because of his actions.
I bought the series, so
you'll see these in the future, and that'll be fun.
We're committed. I'm committed to this.
That's true.
Even if we don't, we will. Audience, you will see this in the future. But
even if I don't, I'm the one who told you about the series. I think it's a great series.
Yes, it is a great series. What I'm saying is, even if the audience don't get to live this with me, I will be reading them for my own benefit.
Are you going to murder the audience?
If I have to. I mean, whatever.
I wouldn't go on record to say that. Anyway, next episode we'll read The Hobbit.
Yes, which has less
Well,
murder
no. Sorry. Next episode we're having a guest on.
Yes, we are.
We're having a guest on for The Lies of Locke Lamora. I did ask Spencer to come back. So, first, we're talking The Lies of Locke Lamora with Spencer, great is his name, Spencertum, which I deemed that's his new nickname. And then we're going to read The Hobbit. And we're going to have a new guest on for The Hobbit, which I'm excited about.
Me too.
Love getting new guests on.
It's always fun.
It is
Now we'll
fun.
see who gangs up on who, because apparently my friend, Jess, who I said is a sweet person and would never gang up on either of us, threw me underneath the bus 5 minutes into the episode.
That's true. Well, thanks for tuning in, you salty adventurers. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a side quest.